By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York, giving glory, thanks, and praise to the Most High King of the universe for being our God, our protector, for waking us up this morning, for being the provider and the one who has brought us to this moment to even glorify and praise his name, to be able to expound upon his word and try to make some people, bring some people to some understanding of it. So we hope and pray that everything that is said is in accordance to his laws and to his word, and that in no means we will offend anyone or misguide anyone. So, I mean, sometimes, people do get offended, but the word of God is the word of God, and we cannot change that. So, giving due respect to his high and holy name, and I pray that the Creator will continue to be with us all and protect us. Early Shabbat Shalom to everyone, as this is pre-recorded, so by the time you hear it, time we record it, by the time you hear it, it is the Shabbat day or coming into the Shabbat day. So just wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom, and I pray that the Creator of heaven and earth will continue to be with us also. We're going to move straight ahead. Today we will be going into Proverbs 20 as we continue in the Proverbs today, but also Nasik, Zurishaddai, Yehudah will be reviewing the portion, the Sidra, Tsway. So without any further ado, I pass it on to one of my teachers and my mentors, even Nasik Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Supreme intelligence of the universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. And due respect to the platform on the D.C.B channel platform, spiritual leader, Chief Prince Ariel Ben Saska, the host Chief Uzziah, the Princess Chief, brothers and sisters, Kohanim, Rabbinate, visitors, Maureen. I greet you all in the tongue of my forefathers, Shalom Aleichem, and an early Shabbat Shalom. And before I get into the Proverbs, Mishlei, the 20th chapter, like to always highlight some of the things in the Sidra as we go forward, because what we live by is what's coming from the Sidros. And Proverbs, as I often say again, is showing us how to behave, and expresses more of what we should already know and what we should learn, what the Creator required of us. So as we go forward in this particular portion, we left off with Teruma, which is different offerings that are supposed to be brought for the house. And what's interesting is that in the early parts of Teruma, we don't have any people that describe who's going to do the work. That's, we got all this here items, that's supposed to be brought up. And then later on, it talks about who's going to actually do the work. So, and it's always various concepts. I was discussing it with my grandson, Shalom, who's very very wise, understanding young man, and he noticed that as well, and brought that point out that certain people, like, that's going to actually do the work on the ark, who's over the work. Only the two people that's named, they're not called out, and it's various reasons you could kind of explore and ponder on and reference why they're not named now. Whereas when we get ready to get into this particular portion here, we're going to have name of a person, a particular people who are going to put on an act within a certain capacity. And so that is most interesting. And what else is find interesting as we get into this particular portion, that it talks about the oil for the lamps. When Tsway starts at the 27th chapter, the 20th verse, and it goes all the way to the 30th chapter and ends at the 10th verse. So with the altar incense being the last thing, last item, major item that's being discussed here. So some of the order is something that to be discussed, which I'm not going to explore much in this particular talk, but I figured it was interesting to notice the way some of these orders is put in. The most, next to the Ark of the Covenant, the next most holy item would be actually the altar and incense, the golden altar and incense. Though we think about the menorah more so than that, you know, and that's the one that's most closest to the Ark of the Covenant. And yet it's spoken on in the latter part in detail. And yet we have the workers that's supposed to do the work on the Mishkan. They're not, as you know, as mentioned up front, that this guy gonna do this here and be responsible for this, and that guy gonna be take care of that and work with them. We get those information later. So that's something that you could discuss more with your various teachers, you know, and any thoughts on those particular areas. Now, in this particular sidra, Tsway, the only sidra since Moses was born that his name is not mentioned. Now, some people, you know, will look at Deuteronomy and say, well, I find plenty of chapters and places in Deuteronomy where Moses' name is not mentioned. And the reason that is different as compared to the time that Moses was born, you're going to Shemot, going to Wayikra, Leviticus, you're going to Bamidbar, Numbers, is because, you know, it's, and the Lord spoke unto him, Moses, saying, or the Lord speaking to them so-and-so, and told Moses to say such and such. Whereas in Deuteronomy, in the very beginning, it tell you, these are the words of Moses. So in Deuteronomy, his name don't have to be mentioned as often in Deuteronomy, simply because if it states in the very beginning of Deuteronomy that these are the words, then if these are my words, then I'm doing the talking. So there's no need for me to mention my name as often. But in this particular portion here, which is different, is that Moses' name is not mentioned at all in this particular portion of Tsway. And what is more important is that he's the one responsible for the whole overseeing this job. So now, a name itself centers you out and limits you, and limits a certain capacity that you have. But if I call a name, all I'm doing is pointing out, you know, say the name like I say, Johnny, Johnny so-and-so, Johnny such and such. I identified Johnny, and I'm telling Johnny to do so-and-so. But is Johnny the best person to do that? That's where the difference come at. Is he necessarily the best person to do that unless I give qualifications like we find to the workers later on that's mentioned? Where Moses, where it says, when you say you, that means when God tell Moses, and you should do this here, then that means that you are the most capable person which is different from, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel. That's anybody pretty much. The Lord could say, the Lord speaking to, say, Crown Prince Zurishaddai, speaking to the children of Israel. Anybody else could do what Crown Prince Zurishaddai doing. If the Lord tell me to say something, I could say it. If the Lord tell you to say something, you could say it. But when they say the Lord tell you that you must do something directly and you leave the name out, that puts you on another level in saying that that's within your capacity and no one else's capacity to fulfill this particular job. So that makes you very special. So though Moses' name is not mentioned here in Tsway, that is one aspect, to think about and consider. That his name is not as important as the actual essence of himself. And another reason it's often brought out is that we're talking about the clothing and garments of the priests. And Moses is not going to be the priest, but yet he's functioning as a priest. And we're going to see. So I'm just going to read a couple of things in this particular portion of Tsway. Most people say Tsway. And it starts off like this. And thou shalt command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure olive oil, beaten for the light, to cause a lamp to burn continually. And the tent of meeting without the veil, which is before the testimony. Aaron and his sons shall set it in order to burn from evening to morning before the Lord. It shall be a statute forever throughout their generations on the behalf of the children of Israel. You would think God would tell Aaron about that, getting the oil first. But it's told Moses, this is actually Moses' job. Aaron, we know later on, going to be the priest. And he telling the children of Israel, Moses was to command the children of Israel. So that's not a suggestion, but he's told to command the children of Israel. And in other words, join them in this enterprise, because the words of Allah also have this connotation of joining. Join in this enterprise of what we're about to do. And it talked about oil. And why bring the oil to Moses? Because he's responsible to make sure it's pure. And also, what could be a metaphorical viewpoint, is that what he's supposed to do is like every Israelite, everyone has a unique character, a unique demeanor. So olive, you got to really press it. Put some work in to extract that oil from olive. Olive, as I said before, is the only fruit that you can extract the oil from cold. All other fruits have to go through a process. But olive itself, the fruit olive, is the only fruit you can actually get the oil. We ain't talking about the juice, we're talking about the oil from, when it's pressed a certain way. So Moses is responsible to make sure that the oil is pure, no sediments, no this and that and the other. And usually you only could get a drop or so from any olive that you press to get that purest oil. So it's not like today when people tend to say, I'm getting pure olive oil. The first drop, the most purest of the fruit, Moses had to inspect that. That was left to Moses and nobody else. That's why he's commanding them to bring that and bring it to himself. But also, it's saying, and then metaphorically, you could say, every individual, you got to find out how to work with their character, their demeanor. Right? So sometimes with Israelites, you have to say, well, I can't talk to this Israelite. I can talk to another Israelite. Sometimes I got to work with them different. I got to understand them different. So I got to try to extract the most purest essence out of him. And that's my job, to be able to see and bring out the best in this individual which might be a different method than the next individual, but it's in every individual. So this is when, metaphorically, when he talking about the children of Israel themselves, that he got to bring out the best in all the nations of the children of Israel. That was his job, not just his family. So, and it says that when Aaron shall set it in order to burn from evening to morning, for the Lord. So, and that would be part of their legacy. But let's go into the 20th chapter, and it says, and bring thou near unto thee Aaron thy brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office, even Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and Eleazar, and Ithamar, Aaron's sons. And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother, for splendor and for beauty. All right, thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother, for splendor and for beauty. And thou shalt speak unto all that are wise-hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they shall make Aaron's garments to sanctify him, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. All right, before we get into that, all right, I like to focus on the Hebrew term, that is used here, which is a unique term from the beginning of the first verse of the 20th chapter. It says, Hikri elekha et harom elakika, we ed banai ito mitok b'nei Yisrael. All right, so why is it that you figure the priest himself, Aaron, you're supposed to be getting close to the Creator, but yet the term is that Moses, he could not, it's not bring him close, to himself. In other words, elevate Aaron and his sons on your level. Ain't that something? That is telling you right now at this point in time that as great as Aaron were in the past, being acting as a prophet, being Moses' spokesperson, doing some of the signs, and wonders in Egypt. As great as Aaron was, he himself did not get on the level of Moshe. He was not on that level. Being an older brother at that. So God saw more in Moses than he did in Aaron. So he said, Aaron need to come up and step up, him and his sons, to a certain mindset and spirituality that you have at this point in time. So that is what bringing too close to himself. And a lot of people always think, I'm just as spiritual as you are. I'm just as godly as you are. I know as much as you know. Perhaps that's often true. Sometimes you might know more. Sometimes you might be more spiritual. But in this case, God let us know that the spirituality of Moses and the status that Moses had was greater than Aaron and his sons at the time. And mind you, all of them was at Mount Sinai, together. So that means that as great as Aaron was, he didn't quite make it yet, and his children had to be on that same level to be priests. All right, so now, when we get into about the clothing of the priest, which I'm not going to speak on that length, but when we get in reference to the clothing of the priest, that what we find concerning the clothing of the priest is that is what his uniform and his induction into the office of priesthood. And he cannot minister, though after this we find later on that you're born a priest, but you're not an active priest unless you have the clothes on. Even if the tabernacle was functioning or the temple was functioning, you're not an active priest until you are invested with them clothes. When them clothes leave you, you're no longer in the office of a priest. You're a civilian. It's like every other society. The guards of a palace, they reflect the king or whoever owned the palace. They reflect that king, emperor, they reflect that. So their dress determines what their status is and relationship is. In order for a police in society today, a police, when he had that uniform on, well, he got only can function a certain way and a certain capacity while he's in uniform. That's why you have so many discrepancies about undercover police and stuff like that. They have to so much identify themselves. Well, the uniform gives the police a certain type of authority to act in while he's in uniform. Same thing with a transit worker in New York City. When a transit worker is in uniform, he has a certain authority to act in the capacity of the New York City MTA, or mass transit system. And his uniform determined that. So here it is. We say today, clothes don't make a man, man make clothes. But clothes do make a man. And a lot of times, if you say you're going to represent a certain house, not necessarily representing God, but represent a certain house, just on that level. We talk about the Mishkan first, and we talk about a person that's going to represent and work within the Mishkan. Then he had to dress appropriately to the Mishkan. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details about the clothing itself, but I just want to bring out that it was already understood, and we get to the finishes out the fourth verse. In the fourth verse, it says, "And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, and an ephod, and a robe, and a tunic, and a checkered work, a mitre, and a girdle. And they shall make holy garments for Aaron thy brother and his sons, that he may minister to me in the priest's office." That's important. Now, I'll just finish the fifth verse. And it said, "And they shall take the gold of the blue, and the purple, and the scarlet, and the fine linen." And then it goes on to the other items that he won't wear, which I said I'm not going to speak on today. The thing is, we know they got $3,000 suits. I know people are talking about their $3,000 suit. And most of the times, when you see a $3,000 suit, $1,000 suit, whatever the case is, you can't tell unless a name is put on there. I'm looking at a name. Just from looking from the distance, you got to look at the name and say, okay, this suit's made by such and such. So therefore, it's worth X amount of dollars. They suit sells for such and such. That, can you imagine that you have real gold embroidered within this priest's garment? You have at the hem of one garment, a pomegranate and gold bell at the base of the garment. That's what you have at the base of the priest's garment, a pomegranate and gold bells. And you say, well, okay, they don't talk about a tzitzit except for the thing that he ties on his head, zitz. So when we look at that area there, you say, wow, you see this gold embroidery, you see all these different colors, purple, scarlet, and blue, all these royal type colors. And yet most suits that has those big values, you don't find them in a assortment of colors, like say purple, blue, and you might find some blue, yes, dark blue. You rarely find, the light blue pretty much, but I'm saying you can find them today. But basically, when they run in that bracket, you mostly find them looking pretty much the same. Pretty much all the suits look the same. They look like some of the suits may be cut and reflect that at JCPenney, but it's still a suit, person dress. So one of the things is that and I speak on this in the past, in the school I come from, it was always about a dress code. Now, you don't have to dress like I dress, in a sense. Well, we try to dress. I come from a school where we most Eastern culture dress, but you don't have to dress like I dress. To dress presentable when you go to the place that you worship in. And when you go to the place, refer to the place we worship in, sometimes in Hebrew as let's see, a mikdash, kasat, mikdash me'at, a little mikdash, all right, mikdash me'at, a little mikdash. So a little temple, a little sanctuary. So because when we go from our homes to the place that say whatever name it's called, we coming from our home, which we look at as our castle, where we rest our head, where we get let loose, to go to a place that we recognize with some sort of sanctity. So that's what. So we don't have the Beit HaMikdash standing over there in Jerusalem, but the places that we have where we call on the name of the Creator, we call that, a mikdash me'at, a little mikdash, a little sanctuary. So, and the dress is, you should dress appropriate to reflect your purpose. And the priest, no matter though he's born a priest, he only acts as a priest and only allowed to function as a priest when he's endowed with that garment. So the actual clothes endows him with the capacity and the authority to act as that purpose. And I like to focus on it so much because even in some religious circles, saying in Christianity, I just using that as an example. In Christianity, you have some preachers, you might come in with a t-shirt on, or maybe a little jacket on, a pair of jeans, boots, some little boots. But it looked like they're going to work, or they just gonna lounge around, and they be preaching, and that's the fashion. They figure they're trying to relate to the people. But when you find other preachers, that dress really, really, with their suits and their ties and dress, really like they in business. They're in business to say, I'm trying to bring you closer to God, and then my presentation must be, exemplary, be able to show that I'm bringing you closer to God. Same thing, more so with the children of Israel. Those of us in this way of life, that our dress is the reason that Orthodox Jews all dress pretty much the same. Usually have a dark suit, black suit, navy blue, whatever. It could be a gray, and a white shirt, and that's pretty much their uniform. But they want to show that they're trying to, they show a certain type of relationship, certain dress code. Now, I'm sure you're gonna find them, with jeans and ties. Depends on the work they're doing. But when they go to a service, they pretty much dress very similar. They wear their best, suit, their best shirt. They might even have a, kiddo or whatever. It depends on what they're doing. And we ourselves, in our various houses of worship, it should always come with the best you have. You know, a lot of times people will say, you come as you are. And what you are is not what God wants all the time. You know, it's what you need to become. So you come to the house, a place of worship, to become greater than what you are. Not to come as you are and stay as you are. You come there to be greater. And the first step is that, do you want to be greater than you are? Then when you step out your door, you look at yourself in the mirror. No one ever get dressed without looking at themselves before they step out the door. And so if you look at yourself before you step out the door, what do you think of yourself? And what do you think of the place you're going? So it's important. And, you know, if you're going to play sports, you wear the appropriate uniform to play sports. So this is what I'm saying, that dress code means a lot. And so much so that we have all this written material on the dress code concerning the priest and the intricate work, you know, that he's supposed to have. The high priest have 8 articles of clothing. The regular priests have 6 articles of clothing. High priests wear a turban. It may not be wrapped like mine. So most times they figure it's wrapped upward, you know, for the high priest. And other priests have a lower level turban, but not necessarily the style I have on. But they wore that. They had the, you know, and usually people that have, you know, have their head wrapped, you know, they have it, you know, usually most people get the connotation that they must know a little something. It ain't just because of the weather or the climate, but it's a sign of spirituality. So, and every culture, the leadership in every culture has a dress code for their kings, the emperors, the noblemen. Everybody had a certain look. Even as early as we read in Genesis, you know, we read about a coat of many colors that was really, really unique. You know, that Jacob gave to his son Joseph that caused a problem. We know that the Creator gave man his first garments. And the garments that the Creator made for them, you know they had to be appropriate for what, you know, their task was. But even if the Creator just had, say, okay, it gave me like today, say, just a leather outfit or a suede outfit. It's coming from the Creator. And it's what I need to do his will in the earth. So this is one of the great things that we talk about when we talk about dress code. You got to, before you do the part, you got to dress the part, you know, and that's what it's all about. So I'm just going to go straight to the Proverbs here. I just want to bring out a few things in reference to the priesthood and about the olive oil, because the nation of Israel is represented by the olive itself. The phases that the olive go through also depict some of the characteristics of Israel, and it's spoken more so during the time of Hanukkah. We talk about that more, even when they go into the book concerning about the 2 branches and stuff like that. But right now, Moses, he's going to be acting as a priest, the first priest. So therefore, he's going to have to help Aaron and his sons fill a role that he's already qualified to fill. So he's going to actually have to anoint Aaron and them into that position where Moses is fulfilling a position with no anointing, no physical anointing. So that's something to consider as we go forward. So we're going to go straight to the Proverbs, the 20th chapter. Here. And I'm just going to highlight some of the things that this chapter contains. It's about 30 verses. And it talks about drinking, talks about kings, reason for fighting, indulgences, on knowing oneself and others, on integrity, business ethics, knowledge, on surety, on lying, on gossip, on parents and children, requiting evil, on God and man, on making promises, on youth and age, and on suffering. So we're going to talk on a lot of areas here in this Proverbs, the 20th chapter. And what we find here in the Proverbs of the 20th chapter is that, like I said, everything people will understand pretty much straight through the Proverbs is, do you apply this to yourself? Or you haven't applied it yet. We all try to apply all the things that's necessary to make us better when we go through the Proverbs. How we should act, how we should guide, we should exercise a certain type of discipline. So I'll start off. Proverbs 20, first verse, says, wine is a mocker, strong drinks is raging. Whosoever ruleth thereby is not wise. So when we talk about, wine and drinking, a lot of people think, I don't drink wine because, I lose my faculties. Well, yet in the Proverbs 31 is to give the wine to those as of heavy hearts, sorrow, so they can get some joy out of it. But the abuse of anything can, it's bad. We know in our history when we wanted meat, and some people ate meat so quick and so much that it said when God had to slam, when it was even coming out their mouths, in other words, they was gorging themselves. So, everything must be done in moderation. And that's why, they have, it's not a prohibition for drinking, but it is a prohibition against being loose, wild. That is a prohibition. And sometimes people don't know how much they need to drink and when to stop. So drinking in itself is not prohibited in scriptures. The priests even get the best wine, though you do wine libations, all the wine is not poured there at the side of the altar. He has it for himself as well. Right? They enjoy certain things. So you're going to find a lot of different things in reference to that as we go through the Proverbs. So now, let's look at the second verse. It says, the terror of a king is as the warring of a lion. He that provoketh him to anger forfeiteth his life. So that means right then and there, fear authority, it's talking about the fear of authority. If somebody doesn't recognize a certain type of authority, several things you learn, in the sense that if you make the king mad, especially in ancient times, he's subject to be put to death. And like I said, in the past concerning Joseph going to jail, and the butler and the baker going to prison. Prison didn't have no term limits in ancient times. So that's like a death sentence in itself. So when you do that to the king, then automatically, and it provoke him, and that means right then that you go out your way to do certain things more so. And we ain't talking about a person that's standing up for justice, but even then, you got to say, well, if I'm standing up for justice, you got to use discretion, which we're going to talk about a little later on as we go forward. The third verse, it is an honor for a man to keep aloof from strife, but every fool will be snarling. All right. So in other words, some things ain't worth fighting over. Some people say, I got to go on the fight because my honor had been attacked. Is it really your honor being attacked or your pride being attacked? And the thing is that, isn't it more honorable that you can overlook certain things, because so-and-so just said this and you overlook it? But when it goes on to talk about, but every fool will be snarling. Snarling is what a dog does. And, snarling is what an animal does. And when an animal snarl, when they go to snarling, they really don't want to be, it's almost like people murmuring. You want to be heard, but you don't really want to be voice your opinion really clear. So an animal that snarls, he want to be heard that he got an issue, or he or she, whatever, the animal got an issue. But when they bark and roar, then they making clear their position. Same thing when the person murmur. So therefore, it talks about, but every fool will be snarling. I mean, anything he got an issue with, everything he's going to be snarling, no matter what you say, because they figure they've been confronted with their against their honor. All right, 4. The sluggard will not plow when winter setteth. Therefore, he shall beg and harvest and have nothing. That's just a lazy individual. When we talk about a lazy individual itself. Let's go to 5. Counsel in the heart of man is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. All right. When we talk about, we could look at the insight of the proverb. That a lot of times, what we ourselves are often unaware of our motivations, and it takes others to help us face ourselves. Sometimes people think, the individual got all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I sit down and listen to other people. I talk and run things by them. And I always, like, even in the programs, I say, talk with your other your leaders and teachers, and any thoughts on it. So sometimes it might be a little different than what I brought out. Matter of fact, I need to bring this out too. I'll admit it. One of the things that was brought out in one of the comments is that some people thought it said chicken is unclean, and it was some questions in reference to that. It was a question in reference to that, being that some people say chicken is not kosher, not clean, it's unclean to eat. And I know some people, hold to that. I don't hold to that, but I'm saying other people hold to that. The only reason I brought out about seasoning a kid in his mother's milk is because it has something to do with a dietary law. That's not listed amongst the other dietary laws like we read about in Leviticus, the 11th chapter, or Deuteronomy, I believe the 14th chapter. So therefore, I pointed it out, and I point out some of the halakha views in reference to that. And I also gave you an example that a chicken does not give milk, but yet it's prohibited to have, chicken and dairy together. But yet, you can have dairy with fish. So I just was bringing out that particular portion there. And there's another thing I seen in the comment. Say we all are Black Jews now. I wonder that I'm glad I got to this particular verse, because I forgot that was written in the comment as well. That I don't know who you are or what you identify with. So my job is not to identify you. My job is, that what I'm trying to convey is certain viewpoints on what the scripture might be saying, and about a particular people who's God's chosen in the scriptures. Now, I identify myself as Israelite. Right? Other people may not identify themselves as an Israelite, but the word of the Creator and serving the Creator of heaven and earth is open to everyone. So it's not, you have no say so on your nationality. So I'm not trying to place you and say, oh, you're Israelite, or you're Egyptian, or you're Assyrian. I'm not trying to place you in nationalities like that, because I don't know you like that at all. What I'm saying is that if you could follow the laws of God, no matter what your nationality is, because your birth was never controlled by you, but your life you live, you have control over. So therefore, that's what we should be focusing on. Those that be listening to the talks that I bring out. So, 6th verse: most men will proclaim everyone his own goodness, but a faithful man who can find. All right. So, when we look at those different portions right there, that a lot of people would be will brag. When you proclaim your own goodness, you brag. What we call braggadocious. That's the term for use. You brag about yourself. And but a faithful man who can find. In other words, do you look for a man that's faithful, or a man got to exhibit and be tried to be faithful? These are some of the elements that we got to look at, and consider. So the Proverbs is teaching us these various areas here. All right. So as we go to number 7, it said, "He that walketh in his integrity is a just man, happy of his children after him." All right. So we talking about integrity in itself and righteousness. That's simple enough. And it says in the 8th verse, "A king that sitteth on the throne of judgment scatters away all evil from his eyes." That means that he has a government. He's looking for law. And he's saying, look, I'm looking to deal with humanity. It's civil. I'm dealing with justice. So if a king that sits on the throne of judgment scatters away all evil from his eyes, that means right then and there, a government based on justice, destroy most evil in society. But a society that don't have no throne of judgment, no court of law. That's one of the earliest parts that Noah was told to have after they came out the flood. They had to have a system of justice, a system of rules, a system to govern themselves by, because the first world was based on kamas, violence. If you were strong enough to do something, you did it, irregardless of who you hurt. That was the first world, was based on those areas there. We had verse 9. Verse 9.
Verse 9, it reads, "Who can say, I have made my heart clean, I am pure from my sin?"
All right. Okay. Now that right there, when a wrong has been committed, a compassionate man will try to understand the humanity and weakness, of humanity. In other words, you can't pat yourself on the back. Bottom line, a lot of people say, I heard it throughout my years, I'm a righteous individual. All right. I hear you saying that. We having this discussion about some things that didn't seem too righteous. But you would say, I'm a righteous individual. All right. So the thing is that it's for other people to recognize whether you're righteous or not, whether you have that integrity or not. All right. You saying that, the best you could say is either I did something or I didn't do it. That's the best you could do. Either I did it or I didn't do it. Then the other person should be able to determine whether it's righteous or not. That's because we have an innate ability to perceive truth. All right, continue.
Verse 10, it reads, diverse weights and diverse measures, both of them alike are an abomination to Yehovah.
And we don't like it either. The individual don't like it. So diverse weights, diverse measures. When I was a young man, and I used to go, shopping and buying, but we try to go early, and we used to go to the spot in Manhattan. We just say Delancey Street, but there's all these little stores on Delancey Street we had in Lower Manhattan. So we just go there, and they had a lot of nice outfits, cheaper price. Merchants, come in. So we had this thing that if you got there early, you break the ice for the guy, you're gonna get a better sale. You got more products to look over because he's desperate to start the day with a sale. So if you go there a little later, the prices might be a little bit more competitive because more people are out now. So you walk in the store and you ask the guy, how much is so and so, for this jacket or for this these pair of pants or whatever they're selling. And once he say for you, then you got a problem. You got a problem. The minute you walk into the store and you ask a guy, the owner who's selling the merchandise, how much is this so and so over here? Because you don't have the price on it. And he say, for you. Then you say, hold on. I need to know what it is for anybody. Yeah, that's what I need to know, what it is for anybody. Simply because you're being sent it out. Now, it may be for good, and it might be for bad. But one thing we both can agree on, he's being impartial. Because he said, for you. And so that's when you got to, that's like a warning sign. All right. So that's why you got to have a just weight and just a light. And one of the Proverbs you read earlier, one of the laws said, one of the laws we told you that we mentioned in the book is that there's three things that preserve long life: honor father and mother, chasing away the mother bird from the young and taking the eggs, or the young, and also a just weight and a just balance, because that would prolong your days. All that's written in our law, that's reward for having a just weight, a just balance, because, that would prolong your days. So this is not just a Proverbs that we just encountered this the first time. It's telling you in the law, you have a reward for having a just balance. Continue.
Verse 11, even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be pure or whether it be right.
Okay. Well, what happens is, people be able to, people say, well, okay, you can predict the child's age by how he act. You're acting like this, you're acting like that, so he must be this age, it might be that age. That's what it's talking about. Child's known by his doing, whether the work be pure or be right, and also you can predict how he's gonna grow by their actions. Because if you see a child that doesn't listen to anything and get free range to run rapid and move according to how they feel, that's a child you could predict gonna be a delinquent, because it's all about self and never about no one else. It takes maturity, consciousness to consider somebody else other than yourself. That's why when we read in the book of Exodus, it said when Moses was growing up, he went to see the burdens on his brothers. You notice he didn't go to see what his brother was doing. He knew also that what the brothers was doing was a little bit hard labor, but he only became concerned at a certain stage in his life and said, look, I need to see how what kind of state my brothers are in, that desperation, simply because I know I don't have that problem, but now I have a problem with these people related to me that's having that problem and being abused. So he automatically knew it was a burden, but he didn't concern himself with it until he got to a certain age. And that's what it is. It takes maturity to care about anybody else other than yourself. And you could see that in a child in the early stage. Sometimes children be playing together and somebody take the toy from the child and another child, you can watch them, amongst your children. You got enough children close to the same age bracket, and you can watch them. And one child said, okay, I give it back. I give it back. I give it back, because the other child's crying. And so they started to take a little bit more care. Now, it grows more as they get more mature. But I'm saying you will see that in the young children. If they take from the child start crying, or if they take the bottle, you can have a little child giving the bottle to a baby that's on, that's suckling milk. And when they see the bottle come out the baby mouth, yeah, they need to get that bottle right back. So they put the bottle back in the baby's mouth, because now they see the baby want the bottle. They don't want the baby crying. They feel a certain type of compassion. So you can see that in children early. How much more about people? And if a child don't have that regard, and you let it keep going with that disregard for another human being, then that child's going to be headed into a delinquency. All right, so that's what you learn from children by watching your own children and watching other children interact. So when one of the things I like when I go to services and I go to different congregations, I watch the children and see what they're doing. And the reason I watch the children, because Adams, man, they got skills. They could cover up a lot of stuff. But the children ain't gonna cover up too much. They're gonna be themselves. And when they be themselves, you could tell if they being groomed properly or not. And then sometimes I go to the congregations, ask, who's your father? Who's so and so? And I ask the children, why I ask who your father is? No, and they say no. I said, because I need to know who gonna be my replacements later. I want to know what kind of people coming up that gonna be our replacements. Because I know we ain't gonna be here forever. So this is what you learn by looking at your children. Continue.
Verse 12. It reads, the hearing ear and the seeing eye, Yehovah have made even both of them.
All right. So in other words, right then and there, that if he made both of them, you utilize them. You know what I mean? So you can abuse them, and more often they are abused. Sometimes you hear too much and you see too much, or you hear too little and see too little. All right. But the Creator made them all. All right. So that don't need much elaboration. But let's keep going. We're going to come to something else closely.
Verse 13 reads, love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt have bread in plenty.
In other words, right in there, a person just, like to sleep all the time. Don't want to do anything. Don't want to get up. One of the things, I have a habit of getting up very early. Now, if I can sleep during the day, I might take a nap. But I get up early every single day. And that's actually healthy for you. You need an X amount of sleep, too, for the body to recuperate and rest. But most people rest their body and rest their mind, more than necessary. You know what I mean? And that area there, that when you're sleeping, you're actually dead to the world. You're useless to the world. You're not making any kind of positive impact on the world while you're sleeping. But while you wake, you either make the world better or worse. But you have the opportunity to have impact on the world and society at large. All right. Continue.
Verse 14. It is bad, saith the buyer, but when he's gone his way, then he boasteth.
Ain't that something? Now, he says bad, bad. In other words, here's another guy at the market. This guy brushed up. It ain't that good. It ain't that good. So you try to what we call, they had this friend said, drew him down, drew him down. That's the expression that I don't know how to come up with the expression, but but anyway, not to be, be,
Insensitive.
insulting. I know it's sensitive stuff, but that's the terms they say. They say because that, and when they get you down, say, okay, I need the money. Just been here too long. Any money is better than nothing. All right, I'll let you have it for that price. So now you get it, and you say, man, look here, man. I got over on this guy, man. Look here, man. I kept walking away, and I know people. When people trying to sell stuff and people buying, I know people say, well, everything's up for negotiation. Just about everything, not everything, but a lot of things are up for negotiation. But then it's such a thing where if you take advantage of another individual, knowing it's worth this amount, and you get them down so low, that's actually deception and stealing. Because you know it's worth this. And you're forcing the individual to sell it for that. And that's when you actually, on par with stealing and taking advantage of another individual. And then they ain't satisfied with taking advantage of the individual that they got a super deal. But now they want to boast of their skills in negotiation. You got a lot of people to say, well, I'm a good negotiator. Not that I'm a fair negotiator. I'm a good negotiator in the sense that I'm gonna get the best for less. And that's not righteous. Though a lot of will fall victim to that. Continue.
Verse 15 reads, there is gold and a multitude of rubies, but the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel.
All right, and that's what we all have, because first of all, the rubies, real gold, you got to protect that from being stolen. You got to protect that. But the lips of knowledge, a perfect. You could have. Some people have the gift of gab. All right. Some people make a living just on talking. They call them motivational speakers. All right. They make a living off of that. All right. You got other people that make a living, off of sermons. All right. They'll still be more motivational speaker in a sense. All right. But some other people make a living on giving good counsel. They call them guidance counselors. Other people would have a problem. They go to psychologists. So I need you to tell me about myself. And I got to introduce myself to you. Then you tell me about myself. I've been living with myself so long that I really don't know me. Perhaps you'll know me when I tell you a few things about myself, which I find strange anyway, because you look for a guy to tell you more about yourself, and you live with yourself. But I'm not trying to come on people that have those different jobs and stuff like that. Some people need help to see themselves. But I'm just saying that the logic is you feeding them information about yourself, and yet you haven't discovered yourself yet. So you need somebody else to see you, because you can't see you. But let's go ahead and continue.
Verse 16, it reads, take his garment that is surety for a stranger, and hold him in pledge that is surety for an alien woman.
All right. Well, that's basically we know about a garment being for pledge. We read about that in Exodus, where you're supposed to return the garment at evening. So, but for a stranger, because you don't know him, so you say, okay, what you got to leave in pledge? I don't know you. But even then, you're supposed to give it back. But when it comes to the woman itself and stuff like that, there, you got to be careful what pledge you take from a female. You know, and that because down you could get caught up with the alien woman. You know, and we read Proverbs 7, all the stuff that she said. You know, she paid her vows. How she paid her vows. And what vows did she make? So 17, it says.
Verse 17 reads, bread of falsehood is sweet to a man, but afterwards his mouth shall be filled with gravel.
In other words, forbidden fruit is always sweet, but then leave a bitter aftertaste. That's basically what it is. Forbidden fruit. All right, continue.
Every purpose is established by counsel, and with good advice carry on war.
Okay, in other words, all right, some wars ain't worth fighting. You know, we other people think of the counsel about, I need counsel to go to war. But the best counsel is how can you avoid war? Because in war, you got confrontation, you got casualties, you know, you got injuries. So, you know, so you might have an obstacle and stuff. And some things, you know, when our way of life, our way of life is not based on how to get a conquest, how to spread abroad and create war. Our way of life is based on how to diffuse, you know, violence, confrontation, and war. And that's what the Torah is all about. It's about how to diffuse it, not to get in and say, okay, we got to go to war, so and so. A lot of times when we got to go to war, who we ask? We ask the Creator. As like say, well, these people want to attack us. We need help. You know, we got to go to war. What should we do, God? Enemies outside. Because if you can negotiate, and that's what the difference is. Yiftach in the Book of Judges, he tried to negotiate with the with the Ammonites, and then fused it. You know, but Gideon himself, we spoke on earlier that when the Ephraimites was coming against him, he calmed them down. The same guy Yiftach, when the Ephraimites came to get him, he stirred them up. So sometimes, you know, if you could avoid an issue, that's what it is. The counsel is there, not necessarily to say, well, I need a counsel how to win the war because now I'm already in the mix. But to save energy from going to war, I need a good counsel. And that's what the verse is about. Continue.
Verse 19, he that goeth about as a talebearer revealeth secrets. Therefore meddle not with him that openeth wide his lips.
In other words, some people encourage people to say, man, what you got to tell me today? What's on the Huntley Brinkley report? What news you got now? Some people encourage gossipers. And this Proverbs is, you know what I mean? That's why I said, therefore, meddle not with him that open wide his mouth. Don't tell him, don't feed him information. Because you know that's what he do. So you support him by constantly feeding the wrong guy information. Unless you want something to get out there. And then he might not even get it out right. He might embellish it because your words you might send may not be juicy enough for him. Because one that like to gossip, always trying to make themselves important because they don't feel important in their own life. So they got to bring other people's lives to the forefront. That's what a gossip does. Their life is not important enough, not exciting enough. You might want to be concerned, but here's a brother blessed memory. He used to have his favorite line, and you know, I addressed it a few times with him. Said, "Brother, I got to tell you this. I got to tell you that." You know, so, and that used to be the favorite line. You know, brother, I got to tell you this. I got to, boy, brother, you don't know this. And a lot of times, you know, more often than not, he had some valid areas, but it's just that the style and way he presented, like that could be really close to a lot of gossiping. Instead of when the brother heard it, and he heard it firsthand, or secondhand, even at times, he could have diffused it himself instead of let it play out more and more. Continue.
It reads, verse 20. Whoso curseth his father or his mother, his lamp shall be put out in the blackest darkness. Wow.
All right, right then and there. Now, we know we had death penalties for that, and it's not just verbally. A lot of times we have that connotation today. You call them these here vulgar words, but usually cursing them is more so, I hope you would drop dead and die, tomorrow. I hope, you catch so-and-so disease. I hope, that everything you lose your house or lose your function of your body, those type of things. And most times you're invoking the name of the Creator too. Those type of things that it was considered, it's a death penalty by, in our way of life, and then you got to say, well, why would a person curse one to support them? And you can understand why it's a death penalty, because when we read in the book of Leviticus about a man that blasphemed or cursed the name of the Creator, and a son of an Egyptian, and the mother was an Israelite, that's when you read about him being locked up for a minute, not knowing. They knew it was wrong. They knew it was serious, but how serious? Need clemens on execution. And the Creator said, stone him. So, and they identify the mother and identify the mother's father, but it never identified that boy's father at all, except that we knew he was an Egyptian and haven't identified his name. So where he cursed the Creator's name, blasphemed the name, the Creator's name, his name is not even mentioned. His mother's name is mentioned, and the father and grandfather's name is mentioned, but not on his father's side at all. So, we got to be careful about respect, and that same God told us, that it's a death penalty to curse your mother and your father. All right, continue.
Verse 21 reads, An estate may be gotten hastily at the beginning, but the end thereof shall not be blessed.
All right. You took a shortcut to get there, but then right then and there, you're going to lose it. We had a thing, we know people that was in the fast lane coming up, and that money was coming in fast, rolling over, there's money was coming up so fast that they said, all we could do is just to go ahead and have a CeeLo game, gamble it out, splurge for the moment. Some good was done, but very little good was done because the money was, the way the money came. Get rich quick schemes always exist. But the thing is that, and when you put the work in, you can appreciate it more, and it has more value. All right. 22.
Verse 22 reads, Say not thou, I will requite evil. Wait for Yehudah, and he will save thee.
All right, in other words, you hear this expression, I heard it so often. Steal from those that steal from you. Stealing is wrong. It's never good. So now, because they stole from you, you're going to justify it by, now, I'm measure for measure. I'm going to be just as wrong stealing. And you expect justice. So the thing is that it's not that kind of measure for measure, and this is what we look at, in a sense, we say two wrongs don't make a right when we look at stuff like that. So the thing is, we know when they're talking about eye for eye, tooth for tooth, burning for burning. We already know in our law that in the ancient times and antiquity, amongst most ancient nations, they took stuff like that literal. that if you blind the guy one eye, then you blind your eye. You lose your eye. And then if you only got one eye to begin with, this guy, was only half blind, but you come fully blind if it go, eye for eye. So it's always a type of thing about compensation, in that sense, because you're gonna have a bunch of blind people and stuff, in situations like that. If the guy lost a arm from your negligence, then you lose an arm, so you're gonna have two handicapped people. He got an arm missing, you got an arm missing. So two of both of y'all's handicapped. So all you do is compound stuff instead of alleviate stuff. So that's why we got you can't steal from those that steal, because now you're promoting stealing. So you got to have enough faith that justice is strong enough and divine enough that you will get justice in the end. That's where your faith come in at, and if you really believe in a higher power. Continue.
Verse 23 reads, diverse weights are an abomination to Yehovah, and a false balance is not good.
All right, we're at that. Keep going.
A man's goings are of Yehovah. How then can man look to his way?
All right. Man's going of the Lord, All right. So, believing, just like the average guy, believing, that he needs neither God nor help from man's counsel. All right. In other words, this is a guy that say, well, I made this myself. I thought of this myself. I'm doing this myself. I don't need nobody help. I don't need no one help. And you find guys like that believe they can do everything by themselves, independent, and say, God didn't tell me to do this. I thought of this. I handle this. So, and when it's just them, then they lose, and usually people that think like that, when it's just them, they always blaming somebody else, like they was the cause, but yet nobody else came into the conversation or to the council. All right, continue.
Verse 25, it reads, it is a snare to a man rashly to say holy, and after vows to make inquiry.
Now that it's a lot of times, it's funny, because you're looking, say, okay, you agree that this is a holy thing I'm involved in. Now, what loophole can I gain out of this here? Now, one of the serious matters is that you have a prayer they say on Yom Kippur, before the eve of Yom Kippur, just before it comes in. Actually, technically before it comes in. It was a big controversy, but I'll say before another time. But there's a prayer called Kol Nidre, which means annulling all vows before you go into the fast of Yom Kippur, actually approaching Yom Kippur. So annulling all vows, you say, okay, if you vow to the Creator, then how are you not, supposed to fulfill it when the turn for vows came to the leadership first before it came to the people? That's one law that Moses was supposed to address to the leaders of the children of Israel, and then the rest of the Israelites will get that law, because leaders tend to make a lot of vows and stuff like that there before God, and won't commit and won't keep it. So here it is that when you make these quick vows and say this is holy, it's holy, yeah, this I'm down with this, I'm down with that. That's holy, it's righteous, and yet you look for a loophole to get out of it. All right. So those are some of the areas we got to avoid. Continue.
26. It reads, a wise king sifteth the wicked and turneth the wheel over them.
All right. Now right in there, he just sift through it. That's all. That means right in there, he's looking to see if this is right or wrong. Continue.
Verse 27 reads, the spirit of a man is the lamp of Yehovah, searching all the inward parts.
Okay, right then and there. So if we talk about the spirit of man, it's the lamp of the Creator. Then right then and there, it let you know automatically what I say often. We have within our very soul, our very being, in the very ruach, to perceive what is right and wrong. A lot of times we know what's right and wrong, when it comes to dealing with other people, and, more so, and with God. And even sometimes with yourself, you discover it quicker. But when you're doing wrong with other people or before the Creator, it takes a little bit more time. But you will understand it, because how can you accept when it says, when it comes to your knowledge? Ignorance is no excuse, but when it comes to your knowledge, how can you accept that to be right? How can you accept it to be godly? When it comes to your knowledge, you can say, well, that's what you say. No, you will see, you will feel a certain way and know that that's right. That's why if you say ignorance of the law is of no excuse, because if you commit a certain sin, as we get into Leviticus later on, that it says when they come to their knowledge, they should be guilty. You will feel it. Continue.
Verse 28. Mercy and truth preserve the king, and his throne is upheld by mercy.
Okay, right then and there. All right, mercy and truth. So in other words, first of all, you look for mercy, but you still constantly got to deal in truth. So that means that because justice there, mercy comes after a judgment is made. Mercy don't come before judgment. Mercy always comes after judgment, and the judgment got to be true in order for the mercy to be really valid. And so that's the area there. So we got two more verses. 29.
Verse 29. The glory of young men is their strength, and the beauty of old men is the hoary head.
Okay. And in society like America, most times they get rid of the old folks. They try to get rid of them. And they say they become a burden on society. Say, push them over here, push them over there. Where in ancient society, in ancient nations, the elders would look upon as the sages, the guide and counselors, because they lived life long enough to know certain things, so they could give you a guide to certain things and help you, understand you a lot better, in that sense. They can help you understand you, because the thing is that they could guide you in a direction that'd be more healthy for you, but because they didn't seen a lot of things, went through life, and God preserved them for a particular reason. A lot of times when people say, well, oh man, growing to a certain age is only for a select few. God grant you that. Only for a select few. Everybody don't get a chance to get up there to be a certain age. And not only that, if the Creator kept you to reach a certain age and time in life, then that means right in there that you was worthwhile and you have a purpose still left in this earth. Last verse.
Verse 30 reads, sharp wounds cleanse away evil, so do stripes that reach the inward parts.
All right, so that means corporal punishment is necessary at times. That's all it means. A lot of people don't think corporal punishment is not necessary, but corporal punishment works in every single society.
Yes, sir.
Because it said wisdom too high for food, so therefore they understand pain, and men will avoid pain. If it wasn't no such thing as pain, we would do everything in life. It's certain pains that we encounter that curb us from doing certain things, and that's what we got to learn. So I hope you got something out of what I said. I know it's been a little bit long, but I'm trying to be a little bit more brief in the future. So any mistakes been my own. With that, I say Shalom Aleichem and early Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah. Shalom Aleichem. Early Shabbat Shalom to everyone. And to everyone out there, thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget, in May, our Unity Weekend. Make your preparations from now. Hopefully, we will see. If you haven't met him yet, we will see. He usually is at all of our Unity events. Nasik, Zurishaddai, Yehudah, so you get an opportunity to meet him if the Most High God allows that. And so we hope that everyone will come out and support and show love to the community. And also the following day, we're having a testimonial for the leader of our congregation, even my brother, Nasik, Chief Prince Yisrael Ben Yissaskar. So thank you all for tuning in. Going to run this commercial so that you get all the information on the Unity Shabbat. And may the Most High God bless each and every one of you. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom. Amen.
Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. Get ready to experience the Unity Shabbat Kum, a celebration of praise and glory to the Most High Yah, hosted by Congregation Beit D.C.B. Join us on May 25th, 2024 at Shell's Loft, Brooklyn, located at 120 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. This event promises a day filled with spiritual upliftment, community unity, and joyful fellowship. Come together with fellow brothers and sisters to honor and worship as we celebrate the divine presence in our lives. For more information and to reserve your spot, contact us at 347-622-9090 or email us at info@baitdcb.org. Don't miss this opportunity to connect, rejoice, and experience the power of unity and faith. Once again, brothers and sisters, experience the beauty of unity and faith at Unity Shabbat Kum, presented by Congregation Beit D.C.B. Join us on May 25th, 2024 at Shell's Loft, Brooklyn, located at 120 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. This special day is dedicated to praising the Most High Yah and coming together as a community and worship and celebration. Whether you're seeking spiritual enlightenment or simply looking to connect with like-minded individuals, this event offers an uplifting experience for all. Reserve your spot today by contacting us at 347-622-9090 or emailing us at info@baitdcb.org. Let's gather in unity and embrace the spirit of togetherness as we honor the divine presence in our lives. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom.
Let's get all his wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing, all praises to the Most High, his laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing, all praises to the Most High, his laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment,